So we have covered up to Swadeshi movement and Bengal partition, right? Now in this session what we are going to do is we will look at moderates and extremists. Okay, so we will try to understand what's the difference between moderates and extremists, and we will also see what are the methodologies or methods that they followed and their ideologies and the concepts. And if time permits, I'll briefly talk about revolutionaries also, or revolutionary terrorist groups, which is different from extremist, and we will look at the difference also. Okay, then after that I'll quickly discuss about Muslim League and some facts which is related to Muslim League and the ideas and concepts of Muslim League through three different phases, the way Muslim League evolved. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss in this video. I may not discuss about revolutionaries in this video extensively because that's coming later in the chronology, because we are actually following the chronology. So revolutionaries as such will have a separate discussion. So here in this video session I will focus more on moderates and extremists and the most important development which happened in 1907, that is Surat Split. Okay, and then we will look at Muslim League and its concepts. Okay, so let's start off with this topic, moderates versus extremists. So if you go for a quick recap of what all things we have discussed, we have already discussed about formation of Congress in 1885. So if you look at this period, okay, the initial period of Congress 1885 to 1905, that means till Bengal division or partition of Bengal and Swadeshi movement, this period is known as moderate phase. Okay, so moderate phase. Now we will look at what are the difference between moderates and extremists. Now the questions that generally asked us, see, if it is prelims you will get certain statements and they will ask you which among the following is correct or wrong with respect to moderates, or the same is applicable in case of extremist also, which among the following is correct or wrong with respect to extremist. Okay, so we need to understand in detail about moderates and extremists and their the way of functioning also. So if you look at moderates, they believed and practiced everything in legal way or constitutional method. Okay, so everything in legal or constitutional way. Now government obviously had no problem with moderates, and in fact government hardly paid any attention towards moderates. Now then, who are extremists? Extremists are those who believed in mass mobilization. Okay, they need boycott. They supported boycott of British goods, services, schools, courts, everything. Okay, they need boycott. Okay, then they need participation from every section of society. That's what I mean by mass mobilization. So participation from every section of society. Okay, so every section of society. So now if you look at moderates, they believed and practiced everything in legal and constitutional way. Now extremists, they look for mass mobilization, they proposed or need boycott, and they need participation from each and every section of Indian society. So extremist doesn't mean that any violence or anything, that we will discuss later when we discuss about revolutionaries. Here when I say extremist, it's only mass mobilization. So basically the extremists, they thought that the methods adopted by the moderates are not enough or not sufficient. So they look for mass mobilization, they look for boycott, they need the participation from all sections of society. But now they had a new demand, that is Swaraj. Okay, they come up with a new demand, Swaraj. And there is a famous statement by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. Okay, so that's the idea of extremist. They now look for Swaraj. The difference between Swaraj and Purna Swaraj, we had the discussion in the previous video. Now the point that need to be very clear and careful is that extremists, they are not demanding anything through violent way, but they went for mass mobilization, which I have discussed, like they went for strikes, dharnas, boycotts, rallies, etc. So not violent way, but strikes, boycotts, etc. Okay, so that's the most important point. So when we discuss about the third group, okay, that is revolutionary terrorist group. See, that name is very controversial. Actually, when Indians are talking about them, or when we discuss about them, when Indians write about them, we call it as revolutionaries. Now when the English talk about them, they call it as terrorist, right? So actually, revolutionary terrorist group, this terrorist, the word terrorist is actually bringing a different element or different meaning to them. In fact, if you want, you can just write about revolutionaries. So we will discuss about revolutionaries later. Now let's confine our discussion to moderates and extremists. Okay, so who are the extremist leaders? Aurobindo Ghosh, one of the important leader, Aurobindo Ghosh. Then the famous trio Lal, Pal and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Okay, so these are the famous leaders, extremist leaders. Now if you look at moderates, who are the famous leaders? Firoz Shah Mehta, Dada Bhai Navroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He was a political patron of Mahatma Gandhi. Now Surendra Nath Banerjee. So these were the most important leaders of moderates. Okay, so I have discussed about 4 leaders, 4 extremist leaders and 4 moderate leaders. Now let's discuss about Surat Split, which is very important, which happened in 1907. Now what is the reason? See, we have already done an extensive discussion on partition of Bengal and Swadeshi movement. So Swadeshi movement means actually promoted boycott of goods and services of the British. At the same time, there were social boycott. Now the moderates, they basically want to confine this boycott in Bengal or Calcutta or in urban Bengal. But extremists want to extend this boycott or Swadeshi movement across India and each and every part of India. And in fact, Tilak took this Swadeshi movement to Maharashtra, and Lala Lajpat Rai took this movement to Punjab. Okay, but the problem was they used religious symbols, and that created a lot of issues and problems later that we have already discussed. So the point is, the extremist leaders wanted to take Swadeshi movement outside urban Bengal, but moderates basically want to confine the Swadeshi movements within Bengal. And you can see the differences in 1905, 1906, 1907 Congress sessions. Okay, so you can see these differences, but it became violent in 1907. So that was Surat session of Congress. Okay, it became violent, and in fact police came and cleared. Now in this session, Rash Bihari Bose became president. Very important, very important point. During Surat Split, who was the president? Or Surat session was presided by whom? Or 1907 Congress session, the president. Okay, anyway, Rash Bihari Bose was the Congress president, and he was from moderate group. Okay, so extremists were expelled from INC in 1907, and that's what we call it as Surat Split. Okay, Surat Split. Extremists were expelled. Now see, if you look at this, moderates were in majority. Now even the government also liked it, because what happened is nationalist is now divided, right? So earlier all were part of Congress and all were working together. Now they divided. And what happened is Tilak was arrested and sent to Burma in Mandalay jail. So Tilak was sent to jail. Then Lajpat Rai was arrested from Punjab. Okay, Lala Lajpat Rai was arrested from Punjab, and Aurobindo Ghosh retired from politics, and he became a sannyasi. So he said complete goodbye to politics. Now this weakened the nationalist movement. So nationalist movement at that time was reached at its peak because of partition of Bengal and Swadeshi movement and involvement of these leaders and extending the Swadeshi movement to other part of India, and also by using religious symbols they mobilized masses, because their central idea is basically mass mobilization. But because of Surat Split, okay, they were expelled from Congress, and these two were arrested, and he said goodbye to politics. So the nationalist movement weakened. Now after that, later you can see rise of revolutionary group, and this is not much discussed in schools and school textbook, because the methods adopted by them are slightly violent, and in schools you are taught basically the Gandhian methods, because nobody want you to get inspired by bullets and guns at the young age, right? So revolutionaries, like when we discuss, we will see what are the causes of emergence. Okay, then we need to see what are the method they adopted. Okay, then we will see the impact that the revolutionaries made, and we will see the difference between these revolutionaries and the revolutionaries after 1918. So all those things we'll discuss when we discuss about revolutionaries in that chronology. Now we will not be discussing about revolutionaries here. So what I'll do is, next topic I'll take up formation of Muslim League. So let's discuss about Muslim League. Okay, so Muslim League was formed in 1906 in Dhaka by few Muslim elites. Aga Khan. Now it's not the name of a person, it's actually name of a spiritual post among Shia community. Okay, Aga Khan. So no need to have any confusion. Now the initial leaders were Nawab Waqar ul Mulk. Okay, Nawab Waqar ul Mulk and Nawab Mohsin ul Mulk. Okay, see, when you see Muslim League, you may think or you may have a belief that it is a communal party. Unlike all this common belief, it's not actually a communal party during this time. In fact, there was not even participation of the middle class. Only Muslim elites were members of Muslim League, and they needed certain political perks from the government. Okay, so the demand is basically they want to enter into the ministry, they want to enter into the assembly, and they want to enter into the executive council, both at the center and in the province. Okay, center and in the province. So it was not a communal party in the beginning, and if you classify the Muslim League into three phases from here, 1906, which is the beginning, to 1947, the third phase you can see there is an element of communalism. Okay, but till then, like up to 1935, it was not a communal party. Okay, so let's try to understand Muslim League in three phases. The first phase you can classify like 1906 to 1912. So this phase was led by elite Muslims. They were very secular people. Okay, very secular people, and obviously this was a secular organization at that time, and they are not at all religious. They are just Muslim. They are just using Muslims as they are Muslims, and they have a very good relationship with other groups also. Okay, so there is no problem with other communities, and their relation with British was also good, and in fact they supported British rule in the beginning. So they were the 2 points you can write is they were pro-British. Okay, and they were secular, and they were led by elite Muslims. Okay, so these are the 3 points which you can remember when it comes to the first phase of Muslim League. Now, when it comes to the second phase, see, one point is there is no such clear-cut division that this is the first phase, second phase, third phase, etc. This is just for your understanding. Okay, so second phase, 1913 to like 1937. Now, this phase you can see some changes in Muslim League. Now, the Muslim League is led by Muslim middle class. Now during this phase they turned anti-British, or you can say nationalist. Okay, so many nationalist leaders and many nationalist activities you can see from Muslim League. So obviously anti-British, and during this time also they were secular. There were no communal ideology, there were no idea of Pakistan or splitting of the country, etc. Okay, so secular. The most important leaders, if you see, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, okay, then Muhammad Ali, then Shaukat Ali, then Hakim Ajmal Khan, then Dr. Mukhtar Ansari, okay, then Raja of Mahmudabad, so these were the most important leaders of Muslim League during this time. Now, the point which you need to be very careful is, most of them were also in Congress. Okay, they were also members of Congress. See, the point is, one person can be a member of both organization at that time. Because Congress, if you see, till 1938 had a policy of dual membership. Okay, dual membership. So till 1938 a person can be a member of both Muslim League as well as Congress. Now if you see, some of them were presidents of both. You can see some of them were president of Congress, at the same time the president of Muslim League. See, in 1923 Muhammad Ali Jauhar was the president of INC. At the same time he was the president of Muslim League in that year. Similarly, in 1927 Mukhtar Ansari was the president of INC, the Calcutta session, and he was also the presiding officer of Muslim League, okay, during that time in 1927. The point is, see, the same person can be a member of both organization, and same in fact were the presidents also of both organization, because the idea of dual membership was there in Congress till 1938. Now why this is possible? Because obviously both were nationalist party, right? Congress was nationalist party, Muslim League is also nationalist party, means anti-British, and both were secular. So this is very much possible, right? Now what is the only exception? Only exception is when it comes to Muslim League, they are demanding certain rights to Muslims also. Otherwise the idea and methods and everything is same in both cases. Middle class were the members, okay? So almost all the things are same, except Muslim League having certain demands that some rights to be given to Muslims. Now let's look at the third phase. So third phase is basically from 1937, very important phase and very dangerous phase, 1937 to 1947. Now here who are the members? You can see various religious groups, various trading class, lower middle class, etc. joined, and because of many reasons, and obviously the most important reason is 1937 election. Okay, now post 1928 there are many issues, especially the Jinnah demand, which was earlier accepted by the Congress but then rejected. So that basically angered and annoyed many Muslims and many middle class and many other sections of Muslims, and during this time you can see Muslim League is turning to be a communal party, and you can see a lot of communal riots or communal clash also during this time. Okay, so in this phase Muslim League in fact started demanding partition, or they started demanding Pakistan. So in 1940 Lahore session, why it is important? Because they demanded Pakistan. Okay, so they demanded Pakistan. So even though there were similarities after the formation of Muslim League and membership was there, both organization, but in many cases Muslims were alienated, and eventually, especially in the Jinnah demands, okay, so especially Jinnah demand, that is more important, and later it eventually came as partition of India or the demand for Pakistan in 1940 Lahore session. So third phase is more important for us. Now the point is, they are nationalist, obviously Muslim League also nationalist, but the problem is they became communal. Now you may think that whether one party can be nationalist as well as communal at the same time. Obviously they can, because why they are known as nationalist? Because they are anti-British. But why they are communal? They started mobilizing people on the basis of religion, and because of that reason there are a lot of communal riots and all, so they use religion to mobilize people. So this became a communal party now. So similarly, if you see Hindu Mahasabha, okay, or RSS, they are also nationalist, but they are communal, right? Why? Because they are using religion to mobilize masses, okay? But at the same time, they are nationalist. They are against British. So post 1937, you can see Muslim League is also very communal. Religion and religious symbols were extensively used to mobilize masses, and they went for partition of India, and they started demanding Pakistan, and that was in 1940 Lahore session. So as we discussed already, 1928, 1937, 1946 are landmarks events of Indian history. Okay, so a quick recap of what all things we have done. We started the session with moderates and extremist difference. I told you moderates are basically believing and working on legal way and constitutional way, right? and the British had no problem with them. In fact, they gave little care to them. But on the other hand, extremists, they believed in mass mobilization, and they want the participation of each and every people, and they want to extend the Swadeshi movement across India. And Bal Gangadhar Tilak took this to Maharashtra, and Lajpat Roy took this to Punjab. But there was a split in Congress in 1907. So this divided the nationalist, okay, which is known as Surat Split. Very sad incident, and Tilak was arrested. So actually the movement was weakened. And the most important point that you need to remember is, extremists never went for any violent means to achieve their goal or for mobilization of masses. They never went for any violent means. They just mobilized masses. The only negative that you can say is they use religious symbols, okay, and that alienated Muslims. Then we have discussed about Muslim League. So we have seen the formation of Muslim League, and we have seen 3 phases. So the point that you need to be very clear about is, in the first 2 phases, Muslim League were not communal. In fact, they were very, very secular. In the first phase, only elite Muslims, and in the second phase, middle class also there, but they were very secular. But at the same time, they were nationalist. So both Congress and Muslim League was almost same, their idea and everything, except the fact that Muslims started demanding some more rights to the Muslims. Otherwise, both are nationalist party, both are anti-British, and both are secular. But in the third phase, you can see Muslim League is turning out to be a communal party, and in 1940 Lahore session, they demanded Pakistan. Okay, and I told you a party can be nationalist at the same time communal communal also. Okay, so I hope this is clear for all of you. Now, next session we will see some important facts which can be asked in prelims, which is coming later. Okay.